It's the first game reaction episode of the 2025-26 season, and it's a Preds win. 2-1, the final score over the Columbus Blue Jackets. And they had to work for that one, and their franchise goalie, Juuse Saros, perfectly in his first game on his new 8-year contract, delivers with 37 saves. They needed every single one of them saves in a bad way. But I will say the Preds defense stepped up, even though they gave up a ton of shots, 38 shots total. They did do a great job of making those saves a lot easier for Juuse Saros to handle. So you get a 37 save performance from Saros, which is good for a .974 save percentage. So great stuff there. And I keep saying this, you're not going to make the playoffs on game 1 of 82, but it feels a hell of a lot better to start the season 1-0-0 over 0-5-0 like they did last year. So you're already off to a much better start. These guys can take a deep breath. The last thing you wanted was to open up the season with a home loss against a team that you match up well with on paper, at least. And it got dicey there. The goalie interference call towards the end of the second period really was the main fork in the road in this game. And I got to say, I got to take my biased colored glasses off for a little bit here and say that was a tough break for Columbus, because I thought that the contact with Saros in the crease by Matthew Olivier was minimal at best. I did not see them overturning that to a no goal, but the officials did what they did. And, you know, one thing we know about goalie interference is you never know how it's going to go. It always seems like it's the wild, wild west on how the goalies are going to call, or how the officials are going to call goalie interference. But clearly Matthew Olivier was not happy with it. He was shouting back at the officials when that call dropped. But what a difference maker in this game because of that. That made it a 1-1 game still going into the second intermission, with Columbus throwing everything they had at Nashville in that second period. The second period out of the 3 was definitely the worst for Nashville. 13 shots on goal for Columbus in the second period. They had 15 in the first period and then 10 in the third period for 38 total. Nashville just 9 shots on goal in the second period. I thought that second period could have easily gone off the tracks a little bit for Nashville if it wasn't for Saros just being completely locked in. He was seeing, he not only was making the saves, but he was making them very confidently. He was controlling the rebounds. He wasn't allowing a lot of rebounds, and he was just seeing that puck perfectly. And it felt like, from Columbus's perspective, they realized that they were going to need the perfect amount of high danger chances to beat Saros on a night like this. So the very clear-cut X factor, and top clutch performer of game 1 of 82 for the Preds is Juuse Saros. No question about it. Has a goals saved above expected at a rock solid 2 extra goals saved above expected. The Blue Jackets ended up having 3 expected goals on the evening. And so that's your difference maker right there for sure. The expected goals ended up being pretty similar overall, though. They ended up being really close. I'm about to put the game notes here on the screen for everyone. Thank you for checking out this game reaction episode. It's episode 279. We're going to be trying to do as many quick game reaction episodes all season long. I can't promise we'll do all 82, but whenever I can, I'm going to try to do a game reaction episode for about 15, 20 minutes after each game, the day after each game, and just talk about the game in general, talk about my clutch performers, and also talk about what's next. So that's what we're doing today. We're trying this out this season for the first time. So that's what we're doing. So let me get we're presented by DraftKings and the Pick 6 feature, the app, with promo code THBN for $50 in bonus picks. We'll put that sponsorship later in this episode out for you to hear and get for new DraftKings users. Let's get it on the screen here for the game notes. Just some quick stuff that happened in this game for the Preds at the Blue Jackets at the Predators. Great home crowd. I thought the atmosphere was really good, really solid. They got loud. The stands looked packed. Everyone was wearing the gold, the Preds gold. And so it was a good atmosphere. I wasn't sure exactly how the fans were gonna be, what kind of energy was gonna be after what happened last season, but they showed up, they made noise, thought it was a good home atmosphere. So credit to the fans for that. Looking at these Preds game notes here, shots on goal, as we just said, Columbus was 38-31. That's a really high amount of shots to give up. But when you see that the expected goals was only three goals for Columbus, that tells you that it was 38 shots, but it's a little misleading because it was a lot of very manageable saves for Saros. And that's something that front office really, really addressed over the offseason by going out and getting Nick Perbix in the offseason. Unfortunately, Nick Hague, we're not going to see that for a while. He's going to be out for a few more weeks. But Nick Perbix looked good, 4 block shots in this game. Roman Josi had 5 block shots. So you're seeing that, the block shot totals. Nashville had 19, Columbus had 14. So that's a really solid number for Nashville to block 19 shots. Again, helping your goaltender, helping your franchise goalie to start his bounce back campaign. Blocking 19 shots really helps a ton on top of the 37 saves that Saros made as well. Power play, Nashville got 4 opportunities, cashed in on the one from Ryan O'Reilly, one of the most crafty goals you'll ever see. Dirty dangle, if you will, in close, right up on Jet Greaves, the Columbus goalie, and just completely faked him out with a nifty little backhand. Didn't even have to put a lot on the shot to beat Greaves on this shot here. Just such a crafty goal by Ryan O'Reilly, who has made a career of scoring power play goals and has done great work ever since he joined the Predators 2 seasons ago on the power play. So love to see that. You get your assist from Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg. And that kind of leads me to my next point here when it comes to clutch performers. I'm going to definitely put Ryan O'Reilly in my clutch performers for scoring the game-winning goal and doing it in such a highlight reel type fashion. But I thought the veterans really did a good job leading in this game. There was a lot of emphasis on the youth getting their opportunity. Of course, Brady Martin starting the game on the top line at center. And even though he didn't really stick out too much in this game, he went through the predictable growing pains, found it hard to find open ice, maybe a little bit timid out there. You didn't see him a lot, but he also didn't make any critical mistakes either. So I think that's important to note as well. If you're talking about Brady Martin's NHL debut that was highly anticipated, playing at top line, he also only played in barely over 10 minutes in this game. So even though he was playing on the top line center, he didn't get a ton of ice time, which is understandable. But also, Joakim Kimmel got to play in this game. He got the nod over Evangelista, who is still trying to clear his immigration status and also probably a little rusty after finally getting that RFA deal done and getting signed. But so you saw Joakim Kimmel get in this game as well and had a couple hits in the game. Definitely was flying around out there. Had a couple shot attempts. But for the most part, this game was all about the veterans taking the charge, taking the wheel, and driving this thing home. And even though you only get 2 goals on the game, the veterans really came through here and led the way. Of course, the first goal of the 2025-26 season for the Preds is scored by none other than Michael Bunting on a really, really pretty goal by him. He's the one that pushed this play to begin with. This was in the first period. Found a loose puck in the neutral zone, charged right in the zone. His first initial shot gets deflected. The puck kind of bounces around, kind of goes off Eric Hollis' stick, ends up back in the wheelhouse for Bunting, and he just lasers it top shelf over Greaves. Beautiful looking shot. That got the crowd into it early on to get that first goal of the game. And this is a third line that's getting a ton of attention right now. People are excited about it. And that's a third line with Michael Bunting and Jonathan Marchessault on the wings. Who saw Marchessault starting in the bottom 6 this year? Not very many people, but it looks like a really solid and exciting third line for Nashville to stick with for a while, with your center being Eric Hollis. So that's your veteran third line right there. And that kind of opens up the pathway for some younger players to crack into the top 6, which is what you saw here with Brady Martin and Joakim Kimmel being in the top 6 in this game. But that third line was cooking. Burnett definitely has to stick with that line. They looked really good. And then again, as you see further down there, expected goals was pretty even with Columbus at a 3, even 3 expected goals, and Nashville was at a 2.95. So overall, not a lot of offense, despite the shots on goal. The actual high danger chances and the good scoring chances were pretty much kept at a minimum. I do think Jet Greaves had a good game as well and made some good saves. I don't think he had a horrible game. When we were going into this episode, last episode, 278, we had Mark Shag on here who covers the Blue Jackets for the Hockey Writer. And I mentioned that I thought this could actually be a little bit of a higher scoring game. The shots were there, but both defenses did a pretty good job of keeping the high danger chances at a minimum. And then both goalies did the work that they had to do to not let in any soft goals. I don't think either goalie let in any soft goals. The one goal that UC Saros gave up, which I should mention, was such bad luck. I mean, just a bouncing, fluttering puck that bounced off 2 Preds players. And then that's the only way you were going to beat UC Saros tonight, I think, was a goal like that. And it's, you hate to see his shutout spoiled on a goal like that. But when that goal was scored, I got to tell you, I was worried that we were going to see a repeat of what happened last season, where one bad, fluky, unfortunate goal snowballs into 2, 3, or 4 more goals, and then Saros just can't dig himself out of it. And very fortunate for us that did not happen, especially when the goalie interference goal was waved off, which could have put Columbus up 2-1. I was also really worried that this could snowball into the third period because Columbus did have the momentum at that time, but it just never really happened. And Saros was able to just hold it down until the Predators could find that second goal. Another key moment in the game, which I thought, if we're going to nitpick here, the Predators could have done a much better job of seizing the control here, was when they had the back-to-back power plays and they even had a small little window of 5-on-3 opportunity, and they weren't able to cash in there. So even though they did strike once on the power play, they go 1 for 4. So I've been saying all year long, if the Predators are going to doubt the naysayers this year and make a charge back towards the playoffs, they're going to have a lot of success on their power play. Because I do think their power play has plenty of weapons. For as much as this roster does have a lot of weaknesses, mainly up the middle at center, which is really at the question mark, their top power play unit is full of weapons, veteran weapons. I mean, you looked at the top power play unit they threw out here to open the season, and it's all of your big guns here. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos, who hit a post in this game, by the way. Jonathan Marchessault on the top power play unit, and of course, Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, that is a really, really strong top power play unit. They can win you a lot of games this season if those 5 are cooking, and you can turn this into a top power play unit or a top 10 power play unit in the league. Then suddenly the Predators can balance the scales a little bit when it comes to 5-on-5, where they're probably going to be exploited a lot more against some of these elite teams. But if they can really make the power play their calling card, that can be the ultimate equalizer to at least make a strong push to get back into the playoffs this year. I'm not saying make the playoffs necessarily. There's a lot that they have to overcome for something like that to happen, but definitely be much, much better than the 68 points they put up last year. I'm saying upper 80s is their ceiling in points, and then who knows? Just win 4 or 5 games, throw an extra 4 or 5 wins in there, or a few extra overtime points here and there, where you fight hard and you battle back, and suddenly you're in the low 90s in points, and who knows after that. And I know there's a lot of fans out there who don't want to see that. They look at next year's draft class and they're thinking, let's keep building. We're never going to win a Stanley Cup right now, so let's just keep building. Let's not win too much. There's always going to be that segment of fans, but they want Andrew Burnett gone, and if these teams winning, Andrew Burnett's not going to get fired. So there is that segment of fans that are going to be out there. But if you're just going old school here and you want to see your team win, that is the pathway forward. They did it this game. They score a power play goal, and UC Saros looks more like the elite UC Saros that we've always known he is, and just wasn't able to exactly do last night. Saros had plenty of clutch saves in this game in the slot. We know Columbus has a very fast team on offense, and you were just waiting for them to just break through. Their team speed was apparent. I thought the Predators did a good job collapsing on the zone and kind of building a protective shell around Saros, which is kind of how you saw those 19 block shots there. So that was a really good development as well. So good stuff there with your Blue Jackets Preds game notes, where the Preds end up winning this game 2-1 for their first win of the season early on here. Good stuff there. And now looking ahead, I got to pick my other clutch performer. So that's a tough one because Ryan O'Reilly and UC Saros are two easy choices. I think my third clutch performer is going to be Roman Josi, because after a very, uncertain offseason, coming back from this, from the POTS syndrome that he was diagnosed with, and us all having all these questions about what's going to go on and how is his stamina going to hold up? Is he going to be ready to go? And then we get the news from Josi himself saying, I'm good. I'm 100%. I've got this under control. I've been rehabbing all offseason from last year's brutal hit that he took from Sam Bennett of the Panthers that ended his season prematurely. And we were just wondering, what's he going to look like when he finally hits the ice again? I didn't see any hitches in his step at all. I thought he looked just like the Roman Josi I expect him to be. Puts up almost 23 minutes of ice time in this game, which just barely trails Brady Shea for the team lead in ice time. So, clearly they weren't trying to manage his minutes in this game. That's his normal output normally is around 22 to 23 minutes. So I got to give it to Roman Josi. Thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really good in the defensive zone. He had 5 blocked shots in this game, I believe. So playing on that line with Adam Wilsby, which was a lot of fun to see. Thought they did pretty good. Like I said, you give up a lot of shots on goal, but they protected UC Saros pretty well in this game and made it to where Saros can make a lot of those saves pretty easily in his sleep. So unless Saros is going to give up a couple soft goals in this game, for the most part, the Preds defense did their job. They really did. And so I got to give Roman Josi my third clutch performer of the game. So those are my three: Saros, O'Reilly, and Josi, with an honorable mention to Michael Bunting for getting us off the schneid and getting that first goal. Kind of thought about giving it to Bunting, but I got to go Roman Josi. I got to go with the captain, and he also gets the assist on the power play to Ryan O'Reilly on that game-winning goal on the power play. So there's my three clutch performers. Real quick, let's look ahead to what's next, and that's the Predators stay at home. They get a 1-day break, and then they welcome in another really young, talented, and fast team that's got a lot of pure, talented goal scorers, and that is the Utah Mammoth, a team that is very, very popular among preseason predictions as being the next team the next newcomer of the league that kind of breaks into the playoff dance. That's the Utah Mammoth. They've got some really great young playmakers. Of course, we all know about Logan Cooley, JJ Peterka are two of their top guys. You've got, of course, the Mammoth just lost to the Avalanche in their game on Thursday night. So that was a closely contested game as well for the Mammoth to lose 2-1. But they put up 33 shots on goal against the Avalanche on the road in this game. So very valiant performance by the Mammoth in the losing effort. But you look at their top playmakers: Clayton Keller, Schmaltz, Gunther. Of course, we know about Peterka, Logan Cooley. I mean, those are a lot of really good playmakers. And then you look at their defense as well with Schmidt, with Sergachev, with Ian Cole, Simashev, Marino, Mata. I mean, they've got a lot of good playmakers. Their roster looks really good. So this is a game that I actually think the Predators are going to have to tighten up their defense a lot more. They can't give up 38 shots on goal again. And I think the Mammoth are much more capable of making you pay if you're going to give up that much zone time to the Mammoth. They're going to make you pay a lot more than the Blue Jackets probably did. So I would watch out for this game for sure. The Mammoth are a team that can easily put up 4 or 5 goals on you if you are not extremely disciplined on defense. And they've also got a really good goalie as well with Vejmelka. So I would call this a very difficult game. If I'm rating it, who's got the edge, I would give it to the Mammoth, actually, if I'm being very objective here. And I would definitely call the Predators an underdog going into this game 2 of 82 of the season. But they're at home. And let me tell you, if they can figure out a way to beat the Mammoth and they start the season 2-0-0, beating 2 young, talented teams, and that's a division opponent as well in the Mammoth, then you go into that 4-game road trip, which I have circled as scaring me a little bit, that 4-game Canadian road trip that features your first back-to-back of the season when you take on Ottawa and Toronto on a back-to-back. If you can get these first 2 games at home and you're 2-0-0 against 2 quality opponents, you're feeling really good going into this road trip. So we'll have to wait and see. I would expect Saros to get the start again on Saturday. And we'll finally see Juuse on this road trip to make his season debut on that back-to-back. But until then, folks, we are going to wrap up this first game of the year, our first game reaction. And it's really awesome that we get to talk about a win. So the Predators, again, win 2-1 over the Blue Jackets to start 2025-26 with a win. Good stuff after what happened last year. And you get the goals from Bunting and O'Reilly, and you get a 37-save performance from Juuse Saros, his 203rd career win. So thank you for listening to our first game reaction episode of the season. We'll see you soon for episode 280 of Catfish on Ice. This has been brought to you by DraftKings and Pick 6 with promo code THPN.